780 as well in Chicago. I used to listen to WBBM for the Blackhawks when Pat Foley, who might still be doing their games, I don't know, but that was one of those stations when I was a kid that I could get in and listen to, maybe the Leafs and the Blackhawks or something. So legendary station.
Sure, I think my friend Dave Kerner worked there for a long time.
That sounds right.
Chris, do you know Dave? Dave worked here in Buffalo when I first started, like 35 years ago.
The governor, Dave Kerner, good man. Yeah, retired a year ago, but he's doing well.
Yeah, good dude. Yeah.
Nice to have you, Chris. Thanks for working with us today. Moved you around our schedule a little bit. I know a few Bears fans, and as far as this upcoming season goes, these guys, they need to be shown. I think maybe the Bears are at a point, and maybe it's long been this way, where you've kind of been through it all, different coaches and draft picks, and just kind of waiting for one of these incarnations to really pop. What's your sense about the level of optimism in Chicago?
Look, they finally got the coach, the guy that they were looking for all these years, and going through all these cycles and missing out on that guy and settling for Matt Nagy or Matt Eberflus or whoever it might be. They got Ben Johnson, and this was the most coveted candidate out there. There's so much to love about what he brings to the table, both in terms of offensive innovation and as a leader. And he has struck everybody in that building since coming in, 8 months ago as the hire for the Bears. And I've just really been impressed by this guy. He's got a great presence about him. He's incredibly demanding. He's setting a tone for this team that they've needed. And there's a sense of optimism because of that. He's paired up now with a young quarterback in Caleb Williams that it's been choppy, it's been rocky at times, but the hope and the benefit of the doubt is there because of Ben Johnson. So it's the honeymoon period. You're still going through the feel-good times right now. They haven't played a meaningful football game yet, but there's reason to believe that things are on the up and up for the Bears.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that relationship because, I'm not there, obviously, day-to-day covering the Bears, following along with a few different reporters and just national people. There seems like there have been, you mentioned tough love and demanding, there's been some blow-ups. And I wonder is there any concern about Caleb Williams being right for that style of coach?
Yeah, he wants it. It's a perfect match. Caleb Williams all last year, as he went through multiple head coaches and multiple OCs and constant change around, and was just talking about, I want to be coached. I want structure. I want this around me. He truly embraces this. He loves having that kind of relationship. It was like that with Lincoln Riley, who he followed to Oklahoma, then ultimately to USC. Lincoln got on him. Lincoln challenged him while being his biggest fan and supporter. And that's such a paramount part of that quarterback-head coach relationship, is being able to challenge each other, being able to push the envelope and be demanding. The head coach in particular, obviously, toward the quarterback. And Caleb's talked about these moments where he sees something in practice and he thinks he's right. He goes back in the film. Turns out that was right. There's things like that where Ben Johnson is holding him accountable, and Caleb truly likes that. That's what he's coveted and been striving for all along. Now, they've been going through this training camp now where Ben is really pushing him. He's really getting out of it. The term used is making him drink through the fire hose, and you see the struggles because of that. He's just not been his best form out there yet, but that's kind of to be expected. This offense is complicated. They're installing on the fly. There's been a lot that's been going on behind the scenes in these practices, and Caleb's looked overwhelmed at times. I think at some point, possibly soon, it's going to settle in, and you're going to see the kind of quarterback you expected to see.
With Chris Emma in Chicago, so much attention on the Bears, and it makes sense why. Johnson has come off, we're kind of saying this, Johnson has come off as, for lack of a better term, kind of a hard ass, I think, so far
Yep.
with his young guys. I wonder, and I'm not trying to insinuate a certain answer to this question, I wonder if it's genuine. This can be what we think the quarterback needs, what we think, a lot of good young talent on that offense. All of it, needs, change the culture and all that kind of stuff. But it better be really him, I think, Chris. And maybe it is.
Yeah, that's a great point. It has to be authentic, and it is. Talking with people who were with Ben Johnson in Detroit in past stops as the Bears were kind of going through this process, that was what I was curious about is I heard, like, this is a guy who, for lack of a better term, can be temperamental at times. And I asked, players who have been around him, is it a problem? No, this is exactly, this is holding people accountable. This is what the Bears needed. Matt Eberflus lost that team midway through last season, and probably even before that, because he would not hold people accountable. I mean, he kept telling this team after horrible loss after horrible loss that it's all right, we're getting better, guys. Stay to the process. And they all were rolling their eyes saying, we're not getting better. You're blowing these games for us. It obviously reached the boiling point that Thanksgiving Day in Detroit where Eberflus's clock management came back to bite them, and this team turned on him. There was no coming back from that. Yeah. But take it to another level, like the Hail Mary fiasco in Washington last year with Tyreek Stevenson. He didn't hold him accountable. There was no moment in front of the room where you said that's completely unacceptable. You make a standard. He lost that team by not holding people's feet to the fire. That's different with Ben Johnson. You mess up in practice stops, and you get yelled at by Ben Johnson. You go back into the film room later as a team, you go over practice, you get yelled at once again. It's right there on film to see. They are coaching players hard. They're getting on them. And it's not just Ben Johnson. It's Antoine Randall, Eric Bieniemy. It's Al Harris. It's guys on this coaching staff who are very similar in terms of that makeup with Ben Johnson. They're very like-minded, and they are very demanding on these players. And they've all kind of come to know that it's totally different now from what it was a year ago with Matt Eberflus.
How are the skill positions coming along here? I was had a big crush on Odunze last year in the draft process, and like a lot of Bears offensive players, like last year, did not go the way that he would have wanted. But now Luther Burden is there. You've still got DJ Moore. Like it's a nice looking group here. Do you think that they have what it should take to be like a high end offense coming out of the box this year?
Not coming out of the box. I think it's going to be choppy for a bit. I think you're going to see the continued growing pains because this is a very complicated offense. And, Ben's building is completely different from what he had in Detroit. This isn't, let's install the Lions offense. Let's not simplify this or dumb it down. They're going all in. They are putting everything they can to install this offense to the liking of Ben Johnson. If you're not catching up, if you're not lining up properly, you're just not going to be a part of it. You're not going to have a high role within this thing. You've seen the struggles on display at times. Yesterday's practice was held only for really the starters. The guys didn't play in the preseason game on Sunday. Caleb was off his game. We've seen moments where there's pre-snap stuff in these practices, and it's not quite clicking yet. And the way I've described it, it obviously starts at the quarterback position with Caleb, but it's Case Keenum, who's a 14-year veteran as well, and Tyson Bagent, who has a lot of reps under his belt. It's like driving a car off the lot for the first time. You're still kind of just figuring out your turn radius and what kind of giddy-up you get out of 0 to gas. You're just figuring out every little detail. It takes a couple days or weeks, and ultimately it just becomes your car. I think that's what's going to happen with this offense and these quarterbacks, and you're going to see those playmakers shine. You've seen some natural stuff with guys like DJ Moore, Rome Odunze. Colson Loveland, the 10th overall pick, looks fantastic. He just looks different out there in these moments. So the whole operation has just been lacking at times, but it's August 12th right now. I think in the span of a couple weeks, as you get closer to week one, you're going to see this thing kind of come together. But there's going to be growing pains to start this season. It's not going to be perfect. It might not be pretty right out of the gates, but I'm curious to see where it is as you get closer to midseason and start pushing away.
Recognizing, Chris, room for the growing pains you're talking about, what are the early reviews on the remade interior of the offensive line? Because I've got I think what looks like 3 new starters in the middle of that line.
It was so sorely needed. The Bears built skill positions first instead of the offensive line. And they got some good talent. We just talked about those guys, but they didn't have protection. Your quarterback, Caleb Williams, gets sacked 68 times last year as a rookie. Inexcusable. Completely inexcusable. So they knew what they had to do. I mean, Joe Tooney has a case for a Hall of Fame career when it's all said and done. Drew Dahlman was the top center available. Got him instantly in free agency. Jonah Jackson you acquired through a trade. You got 3 very good starters and significant upgrades from what you had before. Add that with Darnell Wright at right tackle, who's been getting better and better. That's the guy who was picked 10th overall a couple years ago. And then you got this competition on the left tackle between 3-year starter Braxton Jones and a rookie second-rounder in Ozzie Trapillo. So this line should become a strength in time, and that was a glaring weakness a year ago. Credit to Ryan Poles, credit to the Bears for addressing it, but obviously it took too long to do it.
Chris, do you think DeAndre Swift is like a locked-in, maybe not bell cow, but just like the clear running back of the Chicago Bears? I find that a little puzzling because, on one hand, Johnson had Swift in Detroit, and maybe that's a good sign for Swift. You would tend to think so, that the coach, is they didn't draft anybody. There were plenty of rumors about their wanting to do that, but didn't end up being Genty or any of those other guys up top. So that's one way to look at it, but also like Swift has just not been an efficient player. And it's kind of weird to me that they wouldn't have brought in some, better competition than Monangai, I guess.
I mean, they wanted to. And they looked in the free agent market. There wasn't anything out there. They tried in the draft. The Genty market was absurd. They didn't want to jump that high to trade up for him. They wanted Travion Henderson in the second round. He gets snatched right before them.
Right.
They wanted something like a Cam Scatterbo in the fourth round. Gets snatched right before them. Kid out of Virginia Tech as well. Snatched right before. They just kept missing out on their chance to draft a running back. You get Monangai in the seventh round, which maybe he becomes a nice player, but it's a seventh round pick. You can't bank on anything there. So you're kind of left trusting DeAndre Swift to be your guy. And I think he can have a very strong bounce-back season because of what we just mentioned with the offensive line. The run blocking was a mess last year. DeAndre Swift is the kind of back who needs really big holes to rush through. He needs an offensive line that's going to be doing the things in front of him because he's not somebody who's breaking tackles. He's not somebody who's turning nothing into something. He needs a strong offensive line. A couple years ago in Philadelphia, he had that. He had Hall of Famers on that offensive line, and he had a career year. So the Bears believe that with this offensive line, DeAndre Swift can really be maximized. It's him or bust right now because there's just not a lot of depth at running back. That still is a position of concern as you look toward the future. And I think in some way, shape, or form next year you're going to be making a move to get an to get a running back. But right now they believe in DeAndre Swift. They think he's going to be improved, and you hope he can take a big step forward.
I want to swing around to the other side of the ball and talk about the defense here a bit, Chris. And if you don't mind, to lead off with what your reviews would be of Tmaine Edmonds so far, a couple seasons into his Bears career. Obviously, a player Bills fans are very familiar with from his time here up until he departed as a free agent. How has Edmonds fit in there? Has he been what you would call a successful signing, or does he leave you wanting more?
He's left people wanting more, and I think it was kind of an awkward fit in hindsight with Matt Eberflus's defense, where he runs a lot of that old-school kind of Tampa 2 stuff, and Edmonds, along with T.J. Edwards, were kind of miscast in the wrong places. I think Tmaine Edmonds can have a really good year this season with Dennis Allen's defense. It's much more suited to what he wants. He's got the size and athleticism to really stand out, which obviously everybody in Buffalo knows that. But to be used properly is a big deal, and I think he's going to be used really effectively within Dennis Allen's scheme. Not to mention that defense is much improved. They shored up the defensive line. They've got a stronger pass rush. They're in a much better place now with that defensive identity. That defense looks really good out there right now. I mean, Dolphins were in for practice on Friday at Hallis Hall. Their defense dominated them, and I was not expecting that out there. This group looks really comfortable with what Dennis Allen wants to do, and I think Edmonds has been a big part of that. He had a pick on Tua Tagovailoa in an end zone drill or at a red zone drill. Got him in the end zone and kind of took him down the sidelines, and it was just an example of how his playmaking ability can really shine with this scheme.
That's the ex-Bill in him right there, picking off Tua. Bill's done a lot of that.
Exactly.
Right.
What's your opinion of the joint practices? A common thing now, popular strategy. The Bills will be in Chicago on Thursday, and we'll practice with the Bears on Friday. How did last week go, and do you feel like this is a good venture?
I love them. I absolutely love them. The Bears have done this the last few years with Matt Eberflus's staff. Now they're doing two here with obviously the Bills this past Friday, and this coming Friday, the Dolphins this past Friday. It's just you get so much out of these. The ability to structure them. People make a big debate about the preseason games and the value of that for players. From the coaching standpoint, the ability to structure a practice with two different practices going on at once, with everything you want to maximize and squeeze out of that work, is just it's paramount. It's really important as you go through the process of training camp and the preseason. And a lot of these younger new school coaches like Ben Johnson and probably Sean McDermott to some degree value that more than these preseason games because you structure every scenario. You're able to build out the the way you want to practice, and you're able to show some of your own stuff behind closed doors in a way that you can't in a preseason game. So I feel like teams are trying to get in on the preseason games just safely, without showing too much, without getting anybody hurt. It's different in these joint practices. The work has been great. Last Friday with the Dolphins there was not live tackling. Ben Johnson prefers live tackling, so I'm curious if that's the case as they get the Bills in and what Sean McDermott wants to do with that group. The Dolphins were much more beat up. That's just not something that they were looking to do, but there wasn't much for fighting. It was pretty clean for the most part, and it was good work for both sides.
Chris, you mentioned a few times while talking about the offense and Ben Johnson installing all of his schemes and the players adapting, and that maybe, it could take some time. It could be a slow start on that side of the ball at least. What's a realistic expectation for this season with that in mind?
I mean, look, this might have to be a defense-led team out of the gates. I'm looking to that opener with the Vikings where you got a young quarterback on the other side in J.J. McCarthy, and you've got two stout defenses with really bright coordinators in Dennis Allen against Brian Flores. Like, that could be a really fun defensive battle in primetime in that Monday nighter. I don't see this offense completely taking off until you get into, October. You want to see growth. You would love to see some kind of takeoff from the start and say, man, this is what it's supposed to look like. But I'm sitting here wanting to see these days in training camp where Caleb Williams just shines and he comes out of the gates looking strong and he just kind of takes over some of these practices. And it's just not been there yet. You haven't seen those days where the offense is looking strong and dominant and picking apart the defense. So I can't say with optimism that that's going to happen anytime early in this season. But look, this is deliberate. Ben Johnson knows what he's doing in terms of developing the quarterback. He's drawn to Caleb Williams. He had a bunch of options out there in the job market. He picked the Bears in large part because of Caleb Williams. There's confidence and trust there, and he really is believing in this plan that it's going to maximize both Caleb Williams, the player, and also the person, that he's going to be willing to do this. And nothing I've seen so far says that there's been any setback in this process.
Well, it could be if they can find their footing and even be like a wild card type team, the Bears, man, that division is stacked.
Yeah, I mean, he had three playoff teams out of four last year, and the other one was the Bears. So you want to take a step back. I'm curious to see how this division does play out because I can't quite get a sense of it. Like, the Lions have been that team in the NFC, but I see a fall-off without the two coordinators alongside Dan Campbell. The Vikings have a young quarterback with a roster that's ready to take off. It's up to J.J. McCarthy. And the Packers, I think that's the team to beat right now in the NFC North. I really believe in Jordan Love. I believe in what they have on both sides of the football. They really kind of rebuilt without doing a full-blown teardown. They've just got good young talent across the board. It's very similar to what the Bills have to some degree in terms of the turning over the roster kind of subtly and jumping right back still as a contender. So it's going to be fascinating to watch how the Bears fit into this mix in the North, but it's going to be a really fascinating battle.
Bears are the fourth choice at DraftKings plus 500 to win the NFC North, but that doesn't make them a huge long shot, that price. I mean, Cleveland is plus 3,500 to win the AFC North, so it's looked at as a very competitive division. As Chris said, Bears home to Minnesota Monday night, week 1, the night after the Bills open at home Sunday night against Baltimore. Well, Chris, we won't be making this trip, but the Bills will be, and I hope it's got to be more fun to cover than just like one, you're only your team on the field at practice. This is more interesting than that. Again, thanks for your time today.
I'll look after Sal for you guys. Don't worry. I'll take care of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
All right. Chris Emma from 670